this on. So good afternoon, everyone. A warm welcome, and I don't know if it will actually be warm where you're joining in from, but it's really lovely to see so many of you here on the call today and interested in our programs. My name's Anne Harrod, and I am the Director of Leadership Programs at Claw Social Leadership. So my role at Claw is around the kind of design and development of our programs. And we're going to be talking to you today about what is on offer in 2023 and answering any questions that you might have. And there'll be time at the end for those and for finding out, what people are interested in. I am joined by some of my lovely colleagues from Claw Social. I will pass over to them to introduce themselves. So Steve, would you like to go first?
Yep. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Steve. I'm the Learning Programs Manager at Claw Social Leadership. And my role at Claw is just ensuring that our programs are running smoothly. They're kind of hitting all the key criteria that we need to make sure our programs are kind of well developed for leaders in the social sector, responding to feedback, curating the programs, and working with lots of partners and our programs as well. I look forward to telling you a bit more about our programs in some more detail shortly.
Thank you, Steve. Also joining us from the Claw team is Suba. Do you want to say a quick hello, Suba?
Hi, everyone. I'm the Marketing and Communication Manager, and I basically get the program out on all the social media platforms. So it reaches you guys and you guys can apply for it. And I handle the communication side of it as well by sending out the emails and newsletters. So you guys are updated with everything that Claw Social Leadership is doing.
Thank you, Suba. And last but not least, Randolph, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. I am Randolph and I'm the Program Administrator at Claw. So my role is basically responding to emails, ensuring that the program runs smoothly, helping with the designing of the programs. And I look forward to working with you all if you get on board. Great.
Thank you, Randolph. And welcome to all of you. I am going to share my screen now. And hopefully everyone can see that. Yes, a big warm welcome to all of you. Thank you for joining. Today we're going to be sharing a bit more information around our 2023 programs, including the key dates and what we hope that you will learn over the course of our programs. So if you're a bit unsure as to maybe which program it is of ours that is right for you, then this is your opportunity to learn a bit more about them, ask us any questions at the end, and we're also happy to take any conversations offline as well and support you in kind of making those decisions should you need it. Before I start with kind of going into the programs themselves, just to give you a little bit of information about Claw Social Leadership, really. We are a charity that specialises in leadership development, and our mission is to provide social leaders with affordable, appropriate and quality leadership development in order to reach our vision of a social sector that is led with skill, efficiency and ethical values. And in the social sector particularly, the term leadership can be a bit of a contentious one, or not a term that people necessarily think applies to themselves, or not everyone thinks applies to themselves. And we want to change that. One of our core beliefs is that everyone is a leader, and that the term leadership can be applied to and owned by formal and informal leaders alike. And we don't believe that leadership is restricted to those with senior titles. The truth is that leadership we're all doing it, and we're here to help you do it to the best of your abilities. Another belief of ours is that leadership is a lifelong journey. And we know that you'll all be at different points on that journey, but what we do is aim to support you at every stage. And that's why we've created a portfolio of leadership development tools and programs, which are designed to meet you wherever you might be on that journey. And we can also help you a little bit, try to determine where you might be and what would be most useful for you as well. We also believe that leaders grow leaders. So what we mean by that is that you will learn more from those on your cohort than you ever will do from any of us. And what we aim to do is bring you together and connect with other leaders who might be facing similar challenges to you or similar issues with their confidence or imposter syndrome. And what we want to do is reassure you that no leader is perfect. You can learn so much from each other, and maybe the mistakes some of you might have made can help other leaders in the sector, not repeat those in the future, so that as a collective, you're all driving change in a really kind of effective and efficient way. So a big part of our programs is the peer learning aspect and the rapport and the connectivity that you have with your cohort. And we really encourage you to utilize that and to be vulnerable and open with each other and share your experiences so that you can all collectively learn from each other. And even when our courses conclude, we encourage you to continue to connect and continue to learn from one another all the way into the future as you continue on your leadership journey. What we ultimately want to do with our programs is to help you build the necessary toolkit to help you to continue on your leadership journey. And that toolkit is structured around 2 key frameworks. You can see these on your screen here. On the left-hand side is our leadership development model, and on the right-hand side is our capabilities framework. So if I just start briefly explaining a little bit about our development model, you'll learn a lot more about these over the course of your program, should you join us. But the model you see here, it essentially shows the structure that we use for the majority of our programs. So it outlines the journey, if you like. And this always starts with the individual, with you. What we do is at the beginning of your programs, we encourage you to self-reflect on yourself as a leader and identify your development needs, and then and think about what it is that why you do what you do. So that self-reflection part is really key to our programs and very much encouraged. And we also want you to not only know who you are as a leader and act authentically within that, but also look after yourself. So we're here to remind you that we know it's hard, and that resilience piece and that leadership wellness is really important. So we do some work with you on ensuring that, and tools and techniques to help you to remain the most kind of effective and enthusiastic leader, if you like, and avoid burnout kind of through the roles that we do. Once we've done some work around that, we move you to the assessing context stage. So this is where we encourage you to analyze the bigger picture and where you fit into it. And those two combined should help you to then have a think about how you work with and through others most effectively. And that working with others is essentially the fundamental of leadership. So we do some work with you on how you can communicate best with the teams around you, how you can influence up and down and, throughout your organization, so that you can be part of the most effective team that you can be. And then our social capabilities framework, this outlines the attributes, behaviours and skills required for social sector leadership. And it illustrates what these skills and behaviours look like in action. So participants who take part in our emerging and experienced leader programs will be asked to rate themselves against this capabilities framework at the beginning of their program. And then during their program, they'll be doing some sort of deep dives into these different capability areas. And then we ask you to reflect back on it at the end of your program and see how you've changed and how your capabilities have adapted over the course of your learning journey with us. And this is one of the ways that we measure the success and impact of our programs, but it's also a useful device for participants in order to demonstrate the journey that they've been on and how they've grown and developed as a leader, but also what they might still need to continue to work on and develop into the future. I'm going to pass over now to Steve, who is just going to run over a bit more about the programs that we've got coming up for you.
Lovely, thank you. So I'm going to run through first Management Essentials, which you can see there starts very soon on Tuesday, the 7th of February. And then Aaron's going to take us through the Emerging Leader and Experienced Leader programs after I've done Management Essentials. So what is Management Essentials? It's a 6-month program, which is instructed across 6 online workshops. And this is done with our delivery partners, M2. There are kind of 2 people, Matthew and Miranda, and that includes a man called Dave Allen as well. And they have a wealth of experience in the social sector. And they've been facilitating this workshop with us for quite a few years now. Great feedback from the participants that are involved in it. And there are a few different aspects to this program, which I'll go through shortly. But with this program, there is an optional one-to-one coaching support with Dave Allen. That doesn't come as a standard with the program, but that option is there for you to take advantage of if you would like that. And I guess the main mantra around this program from us and the M2 like to sort of have in this program is leaders grow leaders. And that comes back to what Anna Harrod was just speaking about, how kind of lean on each other and lean on our peers to help each other along in our leadership journey. So that's a really important part of this program here. The total time commitment for this one is 18 hours. It might seem like a lot, but this is actually kind of one of the shorter, less time-intensive programs that we do. As you'll find out with some of our other programs, this one has a lot less work for you to do outside of the program at these online workshops. There might be a few bits of reading that the team might give you before the sessions and after the sessions, but this one is mainly just attending the online workshops. So it's a lot more manageable if outside of work you don't have a lot of time to dedicate to more focused learning on our learning platform. And then lastly, of course, when you complete this program, you'll become part of our CLAW Social alumni. So you'll become part of a respected group of CLAW Social Fellows, where you can connect with the community and just continue your leadership journey beyond the program. Next slide, please. So the program elements, these are sort of sprinkled throughout the program, the 6 workshops that you'll do online. But they'll sort of cover things about what makes a good manager, looking at the leadership versus management debate in some detail there, looking at communication styles as well, up and down your organization. Managing within organization, there's a focus on well-being as well in management, which we find very important at CLAW Social Leadership, and as a focus in some of our other programs too. Giving effective feedback is also a part of this program, and having those difficult conversations that can be quite common as a leader. So those are some of our program elements. Move on to the next slide now to look at the program approaches. So as I said before, this one has the online learning and training element in those online workshops that you'll do. There are reflection journals included in this, so it'll be a time for you to reflect on some of the content that you're going through in the sessions, and perhaps some reflection around those readings that you might do before and after the sessions as well. And just to add on to that, there will be, like I said, a few bits of reading for you to do before the sessions as well, and following the sessions, and some kind of top tips and techniques following the session. So you might receive some resources around time management for you and your team. And that's for you to sort of take away from the session and put into practice. And that brings me nicely on to the last thing that this kind of program is all about, is a commit and share process. So we kind of ask participants to take some things away from each of the online sessions make a commitment to try and work on these within the month in between that session finishing and your next one beginning a month later. And then coming back to the session and being able to share with your peers about what went well, with kind of committing to that action. And it's just coming back to that mantra that we like to bang on about, is about peer learning and peer support in this leadership journey. So that's management essentials. And here's the program schedule. So we're starting on Tuesday, the 7th of February. The workshops all take place the same time, so 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And you can see the 6 modules there. They sort of stretch from February all the way through to July. And these slides will be getting sent to you following this webinar. So don't worry about scribbling down all the dates now. And of course, here are some of our lovely testimonials from participants who have been lucky enough to go on the Management Essentials program. So people have taken away a kind of management toolkit from the program and using that to employ those skills and strategies in their workplace as well, and working on their management and communication styles. So you can see there some really positive feedback from this program in particular.
Thank you, Steve. And the one thing I would just add in relation to this program is, in terms of who this is aimed at, it's primarily designed for those that are quite new to management. So maybe you've recently been promoted and you now find yourself managing people. So it's really great for those that have recently moved into those roles. But we also recognise that within our sector, there's not often a lot of kind of formal management training or development. So we also have designed this with those that they might have been managing for a while, but they've never had any formal training around it necessarily, and would actually like to have something just to help boost their confidence and reassure them that they're doing the best that they can as a manager. So this is also aimed at those that have been managing for a period of time, but maybe without any formal structure around that. So those are the sort of 2 people that we aim this at. And as Steve said, by learning from each other, if you are at that more experienced end of the scale, then that could be really helpful for those that are new to management. And we, encourage you to share that as part of this. We'll take questions on these at the end, but for the moment, I'll move to our Emerging Leader Programme. So this is a programme that is designed for those with what we sort of broadly say is 3 to 6 years leadership experience. And what we mean by that is we take quite a democratic view of leadership. So we define emerging leaders as those who have been leading teams, projects, volunteers, perhaps departments for between that 3 to 6 year mark. But we are very open in terms of, the sort of informal and formal leadership that we recognise happens in our sector. So if you essentially, if you are someone that's been working for a social purpose and you're keen to develop yourself, and you've been kind of working in that space for 3 to 6 years, then this program is probably for you. And the program is structured around our leadership development model. So like I was just saying, we start with that sort of initial exploration around know yourself, be yourself, look after yourself, and help you understand who you are as a leader. And then we work you through to applying that to the context that you work in and working with and through others. And you'll be encouraged to tackle the challenges facing the sector as a collective. So you have a group project within this program where you're encouraged to think innovatively about how you might overcome some of those challenges, because we want you to not only think about your own leadership development, but also driving positive change within the sector as a whole. And we also have some of these other key components to your program that you can see. So the program is an online program, and it includes learning days where we take a deep dive into certain leadership topics and parts of the capabilities framework. That is supported with online modules, including our Discover program that's embedded within this Emerging Leader program. You also have action learning, which is a really rich space where you can come together with your cohort peers and talk about your challenges and invite input from your peers as to the best way that you might overcome some of those. So it's a really safe space to talk about that, and that's facilitated by an action learning facilitator. And you also get one-to-one executive coaching. So you'll get 4 coaching sessions with a leadership development coach who will help you to address some of the individual goals or development challenges that you want to have a look at as part of your program. And like with our other programs, there is the peer networking and learning component as well. And you'll be going through this journey together, and very much encouraged to come together, but also to meet potentially now that we are able to do some of that outside of the program. So we hope that you stay connected with your peers in the long term in the best way to serve you. You can see that with this program, there is a slightly more substantial time commitment of around kind of 75 hours. The program itself, there'll be some times when you might be putting more time into the program, and others where you might not have as much kind of learning to do. So it's a sort of, that 75 hours is very much kind of broken up over the 8 months. And we'll hope to support you with that kind of time commitment piece as well, in terms of making sure you are aware of when everything is happening so that you can structure your weeks around it. And at the end of this program, if you successfully complete it, you are granted Claw Social Fellowship status as well. So you get that badge of honour from your efforts of going through the program. Some of the approaches I've kind of touched on already, but one of the things that you'll be encouraged to do is put together a leadership development plan. This is something that you will then work on with your coach and with the program director as to what do you want to get out of the project as the program as an individual, and they'll help support you on putting that plan together and also reaching the goals that you set on it. And I mentioned about the Peer Innovation Challenge, but we've had some really exciting outputs from that over the course of our time running these programs. And it's really, a really great way to be able to, as I say, come together to look at some of the wider challenges that the sector faces and try to work with your peers to overcome them and put some innovations in place around them. So here are just some of the key components. There are a couple of optional components to this as well, which includes mentorship. So if that's of interest to you, we can look to help support, connect you with a mentor, maybe one of our Claw Social alumni who has gone through this themselves and is a leader in the sector themselves, and someone that you can learn from. And we also have a secondment element as well. Again, it's optional, and it's often something that people look to maybe take up once they've completed their program. But it can be a really great way of going into another organization and learning from that organization and taking that learning back to your own. So that's another sort of form of peer learning, if you like, that we encourage as part of your program. Here is the program schedule for our Emerging Leader program. Again, you don't need to jot all of these down, but these will be shared with you not only in the slides after this, but also at the acceptance stage, so that you can diarise those accordingly. Just with some of these elements, you have, particularly with the online modules, whilst we've sort of laid them out like this through your course, you have an opportunity to go back to all those online materials once your course is finished. So if you find that you need to kind of ease off a little with some of the time commitment, that's a really easy way that you can flex that. You can always reconnect with that online learning after your course is finished. And some of this schedule is self-directed in that sense, and there's other which will be fixed dates, and will guide you as to which are sort of mandatory elements, which ones are optional, and which ones you might want to come back to once you have completed the program. And then just again, some testimonials for you. One of the key things that comes out of this program that we hear from participants is how it helps to increase their confidence. I think that's something that I certainly in my time at CLAW have heard a lot of those participants say. It's that reassurance that they are doing a good job, confidence that they are kind of being the best leader that they can be, and also confidence in having that kind of network of peers to continue to kind of support them into the future. But we also have people, you know, talk about how it's helped them to really gain clarity over their role, help them with how they communicate with their teams. But for everyone, ultimately, you know, the outcomes will be different because it's such a sort of individual experience. But just a few examples of what people have shared with us at the end of their program. Moving on to Experience Leader now. So again, this is an 8-month program, and this is designed for those with 6+ years leadership experience. So even though, again, we look at that quite broadly, as a general rule, the people that go onto this program tend to be quite senior within their organizations. So either CEOs or senior directors whose next move will be moving into a CEO role potentially, or it might be people that are sitting on that kind of senior leadership team and quite involved in some of the strategic and sort of senior decisions around an organization. These, if you fit into that bracket, then this program is probably for you. And again, we can talk through that with you as individuals to help clarify that. But really what we're doing with this program is about the stretch that you'll get. So we want you to be kind of being able to input into conversations around not only kind of the strategic decision making within an organization, but also kind of influence within your organization and perhaps the subsector that you work in. So those are the sort of conversations that will be happening within that. Again, the program is structured around our leadership development model, but there's a greater focus on drilling down into the capabilities framework and also the peer learning circles. So we sort of bring you together and encourage you to have those kind of strategic conversations around what each of those capabilities mean to you and perhaps kind of as a shared collective. We want you to kind of explore those capabilities in a bit more detail and learn about what those skills and behaviors look like in action. So how can you sort of maybe improve not only within yourself, but also the drive your organization forward in a positive way. The time commitment on this one is around 60 hours. And this one is also includes a residential element. So whilst a lot of the learning will take place online, we do bring you together in a residential space over a couple of days where you can meet your cohort in person, but also continue some of those conversations and your learning. It also includes a 360 assessment where you will get 360 feedback from your peers around you as an individual, and that helps you with that know yourself piece. And like our emerging leader program, it includes action learning and one-to-one executive coaching as well. So again, just a sort of outline of some of those program approaches. like with Emerging Leader, you'll also be encouraged to put together a leadership development plan and discuss that with your coach or the program director. And in terms of the peer innovation challenge, we have that as a bit more of a hackathon, and that's a sort of a primary focus of your residential, where you'll be working through quite quickly and innovatively again sort of some of the key sector problems, and we'll be encouraging you as experienced leaders to feed into that and work together around how to come up with some solutions to those. So here's the outline for you. Again, will be shared with you, but that's sort of how your 60 hours of time commitment approximately will kind of be spread out over the course of your program. And again, there'll be online modules and there will be some self-directed elements, but also peer learning elements as well. And again, we can help you with kind of determining which of these are mandatory and which of these you might want to maybe come back to at later stages of your program. And then just to end is again with some nice testimonials. I think with this program, you know, we recognize that experienced leaders, it can often feel quite lonely at the top. So that sense of being able to lean on your peers and share some of those, you know, challenges that maybe you feel that you are often having to work through as an individual, then there's a real richness to that peer learning and peer support element in the program. So just in terms of sort of our broad application criteria, all of our programs are aimed at those working in the social sector or the social purpose space. And you can be, that can be, you know, through a charity, through a social enterprise, a CIC, or you might be a freelancer or a volunteer. All of those would count. What we ask is that you are someone that is working in a space where you are trying to support society and drive positive change within it. So if that sounds like you, then you are very much welcome to apply to any of our programs. And the ones that we've talked about so far obviously have quite a considerable time commitment associated with them. And we know you are all busy leaders, leading busy lives. So we also have some shorter courses on offer as well. And I'm going to pass over to Steve to talk about those a little bit more.
Perfect. So these are sort of entry-level courses that we offer at Claw Social Leadership, and I'll take you through each of them. But each of them, sort of roughly, the time commitment is around 10 hours, I would say. So starting with Stepping into Management, this one starting on the 30th of January. They all include, with the exception of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, 2 live classrooms, which are facilitated by leaders in the sector. So there are, the 2 live classrooms for all of the programs except the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, which is a slightly shorter program. So Stepping into Management is sort of quite similar to Management Essentials. It's sort of built for leaders who are kind of entering into being a leader, maybe a management position at their organization, and looks at some of the key kind of principles of leadership in managing a team. We've already talked a bit about the Discover program. So we've got the Discover Feminist Leadership program, and then our standard Discover. So the Discover program is basically kind of what Herod has already talked about, is kind of discovering who you are as a leader through the help of some kind of learning materials that we have on our online learning platform. There'll be 4 weeks of that. And then you'll also have the help of the 2 live classrooms as well. And the Discover program will end in participants kind of thinking about a leadership development plan where they'd like to take their leadership. The difference between the Discover program and the Discover Feminist Leadership program is that the Discover Feminist Leadership program takes on a bit more of a gender equality angle in some of the learning materials that you'll be looking at. And I've done all of these courses at Claw, and I would say they're all the learning materials for some of them very fresh and quite interesting and eye-opening. So they're really well curated. So those are Stepping into Management and the 2 Discover programs. And then we've also got the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion program, which is starting on the 24th of April. This one kind of looks at diversity, equity, and inclusion, kind of the history of it, and how you as a leader and your organization can sort of drive through change with D&I at your organization and in your work as an individual leader as well. So I think we're going to move on to some questions now. So hopefully you've been saving them up for us.
Yes, thank you. I will stop sharing so that we can see. You put your hands up, or if you feel free to take yourself off mute if you have any questions. But hopefully that has helped to bring a bit of clarity. Does anyone have any questions at all from the group? Maybe what would be useful while we're just waiting to see if anyone does think of a question is getting a sense of which courses people are interested in and thinking about potentially applying for. So maybe in the chat, if I can invite you to pop in there what you're interested in, what brought you to kind of join this today. And again, if anyone does have any questions, then please feel free to unmute yourself and ask those. Nia, I'm hopefully pronouncing that right.
You are indeed.
Hi.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, you mentioned on a couple of the courses that there would be kind of a residential aspect. I was just wondering what location. I'm actually based in Cardiff in South Wales. Yeah, I was just wondering what location they would be at.
Yes, a great question. So we use a venue that is based in Leamington Spa. Okay. So we've tried to go for somewhere that's sort of central in the country, but we appreciate that we have participants from all over the UK. So, but Leamington Spa is where we base those out of.
Okay, that's great. And then just in terms of cost, will that be sent on to us as well for the different courses?
Yes, so the cost for these is up on our website, and so you can find that here, but we can also just clarify that in the follow-up email that we'll be sending out to you. And just so you know, with the cost of our courses, that includes everything that you've kind of seen on the screens there. The only exception to that with the residential would be your travel costs to get there. But once you are at the residential, then accommodation costs and everything are covered for you. So just a sort of, I guess, extra to be aware of. Yeah. But we can certainly confirm the costs for you in the follow-up email, Nia.
Thank you. I've just got one more question, if that's okay. In terms of, is it kind of a natural progression to start off maybe with one of the shorter courses, then move on to the management essentials? Is that how it works? So you can do it over a few years to get to the kind of experienced leaders? I guess that depends on how much experience you've got, but is that what other people tend to do?
Yes. So what we want to offer is kind of leadership support at every level, so wherever you might be on your journey. And you know, obviously the ideal would be someone comes in and they're quite a kind of junior leader, and then we've got something to help them at every stage, and we kind of continue that relationship with them for many years as a result. But equally, we've got people that might just come straight and do an experienced leader program with us, if that is what the level that they're at and where they feel that they need their support. So we hope we've got offerings for everyone, and really it's up to the individual of what they feel that they need, what time commitment they feel that they can give, and where they're at in their leadership journey as to which of those offerings is going to be best for them.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you ever so much.
No problem. Thank you for the great questions. Mm-hmm. There's one in the chat from Shona that I'll just address quickly before going to you, Alex. And Shona says, I'm going to set up a social enterprise. Just wondered if there are opportunities to find placements to gain similar experience in similar organizations. So for you, Shona, potentially if you were doing one of our longer guided programs that includes a secondment, that could be a really good opportunity to take advantage of that. And the other thing that I would encourage you to do is, sort of talking to if you had peers on your program that maybe worked in that space, you could talk to them about maybe not only their experience, but also whether there are opportunities kind of for placements there, or we can try and connect you with our kind of wider network of CLAW alumni and fellows. So I think within the course itself, not necessarily, but sort of as an extracurricular around your program, we could certainly help to try and support you in that. And we also, one thing that you might want to also do is we have a platform called Shared Purpose, which is a membership platform that we use. And within that, we've got all sorts of different social sector leaders on there from who have taken part in our programs before, or maybe that just work in the sector. And so that's a good place to post a question like that as well, because people might be able to connect you in with organisations from there. Hopefully that's helpful. Alex, would you like to?
Thank you. Mine was just a really practical question, really. I noticed you have kind of the dates and times already set out, which is fantastic. How much flexibility is there around some of those, or are those recorded? I'm thinking work is possibly flexible. Childcare tends to be less flexible. If I've got to look after the kids, it's a bit hard to concentrate properly.
Sure, no, absolutely. And you are not alone in kind of having to do that juggle. What we try and do broadly is to, when it comes to sort of key half terms, holidays, that sort of thing, we try and we basically will take a little bit of a pause and give everyone a break over those times. And it might be, some people might choose to catch up, use that sort of that pause to catch up on things. There are certain components that would be mandatory, and depending on your program, you know, the ones that would definitely fall under that is your action learning, and then some of the learning days. But then there are things like coaching, which you arrange those times one-to-one with your coach, so based on your availability. Online learning, sort of working through sort of the general modules, again, you would do that in your own time. So we try and have it where, we give you the dates so that you can plan. And obviously, if you've got a clash, then let us know and we would record that session. We encourage people to attend if they can, but if people do need it recorded and catching up that way, kids fall sick, people fall sick, life happens. So totally fine.
Great. Thank you very much.
Are there any other questions from anyone at all? Doesn't look like it. And I didn't see anyone put in the chat which courses or programs they were particularly interested in, which would just be a useful snapshot for us. But I'll give you 2 minutes to do that if you're happy to share that in the chat, just again so we can get a sense of what people are interested in here. Thank you, Laura, for being brave and going first. And while everyone is doing that, just unless there are any other further questions, then just a big thank you to everyone for attending. Hopefully it's been a useful session, giving you a little bit of clarity around things. As I mentioned, we are really happy to answer any questions one-to-one after the session, follow up with you for a phone call if you want to talk through things in a bit more detail. I know it's a big decision to make. It's also a big financial commitment as well as a time commitment. So we want to make sure that we are directing you to the right program for you at the right time for you. So do feel free to contact us as a team. And thank you so much. That's really great, helpful for those that have shared that in the chat. Thank you for coming today. Some of us will stay on for a few more minutes after we've officially finished this in case you did want to talk. But otherwise, look forward to hopefully seeing some of you on our programs. Liz, you ask a brilliant question, which is how do we get in touch? The best email to use is our programs at clawsocialleadership.org.uk. You will get a communication from us as a follow-up to this from that address. So feel free to reply, and then one of us in the team can pick that up. Yeah, programs at, and I'll just put it in the chat.
Thank you so much.
It's a long old, I think we're probably up there with the longest email address in the world, and with my first name as well. I mean, I feel sorry for people. .org.uk, there we go. Yeah, so feel free to get in touch with us on that address. Thank you so much, everyone. Really lovely to see you, and enjoy your lunchtime. Thank you.